On the day of the wedding, Laura was absent. I called her, but it was a man who answered. Laura is in the shower. What do you need her for? Without a word, I hung up. 5 years ended just like that, and the system notified me that my simp mission was complete. I happily packed my things and prepared to leave. Laura, her eyes red and swollen, begged me. Didn't you love me? Let's start over, please. I laughed. Start over? Even a dog would shake its head. I had been Laura's simp for 5 years. Maybe out of pity, she had actually agreed to marry me. But on the wedding day, she still didn't show up. The MC pulled me aside. Mr. He, why hasn't Ms. Koo arrived yet? The bride missing at her own wedding. How am I supposed to proceed with this? The wedding venue was chosen by Laura, and so was the ceremony. She said her parents divorced early and she wasn't close to her relatives, so she only wanted my family and friends at the wedding. She also said she was a strong woman who didn't want to be coaxed into drinking, wished a lifetime of happiness, or told to have kids soon. She asked my parents not to say anything, and I agreed. I spent a long time preparing for this wedding, making arrangements with my family and relatives. But even so, she treated it all like a joke and didn't take it seriously. She was determined to embarrass me. I bowed and smiled apologetically at the MC, slipping him a pack of cigarettes. I'm really sorry. I'll give her a call. I hurried backstage and dialed her number, but a man answered. Laura is in the shower. What do you need her for? On our wedding day, Laura was showering at some other guy's place. A midday shower. What else could they have been doing? The more I thought about it, the angrier I became. I clenched my fist, forcing myself not to think further. I'm Julian, I said. Get Laura on the phone. There was a pause. Hold on. After a while, Laura's lazy voice came through. What's up? It's our wedding day, and you didn't come, I said. Laura listened, then burst out laughing. Wedding? I was joking with you a few days ago. You actually took it seriously. I held back my emotions and tried to reason with her. But you agreed. And besides you, my parents, my family, my friends, and even the MC are all here. We can't just call it off because you say it was a joke, right? I asked you several times if you were joking, and you answered seriously that you weren't. Laura stopped laughing and sighed impatiently. Julian, stop being ridiculous. Marriage isn't a joke. I'm being ridiculous? Who was the one being ridiculous here? Suppressing my anger, I said, At least show up just for appearances. Laura's patience finally snapped, her tone turning sharp. Julian, you've been my simp for 5 years, and you still don't get it? Right. I almost forgot. To her, I was nothing but a disposable plaything, a simp foolish enough to hope for love. I hung up without another word and quietly put my phone back into my pocket. At that moment, the system notification sounded in my head. 5-year limit reached. Rage value satisfied. Simp mission complete. Press 1 to stay with Laura and forfeit your reward. Press 2 to leave Laura and claim your reward. Please make your choice soon. I didn't hesitate for a second. I choose 2. Claim the reward. Leave Laura. When Laura finally had her fill of fun and returned home, I had already moved everything out. She called my name a few times. When she realized I wasn't there, she stood still for a moment, then threw her purse heavily onto the sofa. She took out her phone and called me. Julian, what is this supposed to mean? What do you mean? It was just missing the wedding. Is it really that big of a deal? Her voice was full of disdain and irritation. I've already taken care of the wedding. You're right, marriage isn't child's play, so I've cancelled it. There was a brief silence before she spoke again. Are you mad at me? No. I just think it's not worth it. Not worth it. I looked at the black card with unlimited credit, the reward from the system, and replied calmly. Laura, I've figured it out. I have a long life ahead of me, and I don't want to keep revolving around you. Have you been drinking? I had a few sips, but I'm perfectly sober. Where are you? I'll drive over and pick you up. In 5 years, I had never heard Laura say the words, pick you up and bring you home." To her, our house was never a home. At best, it was just a place to rest. I remembered once when she got drunk at a bar. I told her I would take her home and carefully helped her into the passenger seat. She laughed, resting her dizzy head against the seat. "Julian, are you my dog?" "Laura, stop fooling around." She didn't listen. Instead, she wrapped her arm around my neck, catching me off guard. I stumbled, reaching out to steady myself against the car. "Julian, bark for me, will you?" I didn't answer. She leaned in and kissed me. "You must always be my dog. Stay by my side forever." Back then, I stayed silent. But today, maybe I could finally give her an answer. "Laura," I said quietly, "goodbye." I blocked Laura's number. I gave my parents a large sum of money and told them to go travel. They worriedly asked what had happened between me and Laura, but I just waved it off, smiling, and said I was finally free. After settling my parents, I took my black card and left the country as well. I heard from friends back home that Laura had asked about me a few times but always came up empty-handed. I just smiled. Who was Laura, really? She had plenty of resources. Finding me wouldn't have been difficult. She just didn't care enough to try. Perhaps asking my friends was merely for show. After all, she never loved me. I stayed abroad for 3 years, studying design, something I had always been good at. When I returned home, I became a designer. It had always been my dream. Maybe it was just my bad luck, but my first client turned out to be Laura. When Laura saw me, she was visibly stunned. Instinctively, she moved as if to hug me, but her rationality stopped her in time. "Ms. Koo, this is Julian, one of our most capable designers. He just returned after studying abroad." My boss introduced me, giving me a meaningful look. I understood and extended my hand. "Ms. Koo, I hope we can work well together." Laura opened her mouth, then chose silence instead. She reached out and shook my hand tightly, as if afraid I might disappear if she let go. I pulled my hand back without hesitation. My boss, ever observant, laughed. "Judging by Ms. Koo's expression, you two know each other?" Laura's eyes flickered. What would she say, that I was her ex-husband? Or just a simp she never cared enough to name? Probably the latter. I scoffed at myself and spoke before she could. "We don't know each other. I've never met Ms. Koo before. There's no connection." Laura never imagined that after 3 years, the loyal simp who once revolved around her would return as a high-level designer and coldly claim they didn't know each other. She stared at me in disbelief. "Ms. Koo. Ms. Koo." My boss called her several times before she snapped back to reality. Throughout the rest of the design presentation, Laura didn't hear a single word. She just stared at me blankly. When my boss occasionally asked for her opinion, she only nodded or shook her head absent-mindedly. After it ended, my boss asked me to take Laura back. When we reached the underground parking lot, I politely opened the car door for her. But she stood still, refusing to get in. "Mr. He, you've really made a name for yourself now, haven't you?" Laura gave a bitter smile. "So gentlemanly and considerate. Yet somehow, I feel like there's a distance between us." "Ms. Koo, you must be joking. We were never close, so how could we be distant?" I gestured again for her to get into the car. Laura looked up at me, something unreadable stirring in her cold eyes. "Julian, you know I've been looking for you for a long time." She dropped all pretenses. "Ms. Koo, let's not bring up the past. It would be quite inconvenient for me." I spread my hands and smiled. Her expression froze. She bit her lower lip and sighed heavily. "When you left without a word before, I thought you were just throwing a tantrum." Maybe she wanted to explain why she hadn't looked for me over the past 3 years. Did she think I needed an explanation? But her thoughts and actions no longer mattered to me. "Whatever Ms. Koo thinks, that's your freedom," I said politely. She fell silent again. "Ms. Koo, please get in the car. I'll take you home. I still have design work to handle." All right." With no choice, Laura conceded. After dropping Laura off, my car ran out of gas on the way back. I stopped to refuel, used the restroom, and when I returned, there was an extra person in my car. For a moment, I thought I was seeing things. The girl was dressed expensively, but her hair was a mess, her face dirty, and there was mud on her stockings. I blinked. "Miss, did you get into the wrong car?" She looked at me as if I were her last hope, her innocent eyes filling with tears. "Handsome guy, no, Daddy. Please take me in. I'm begging you." Great. I stopped for gas and somehow ended up with a daughter. I was suddenly 10 or 20 years older. Where was the justice in that? Was she trying to scam me? I pointed at the door. "Get out. How can you leave me all alone in the middle of the pitch-black night? I'm defenseless. What if some bad guy drags me into an alley and does all sorts of things to me? You'd regret it, wouldn't you? Think about it. An innocent young girl called you Daddy and you just left her here. You'd be devastated with guilt. Daddy, Daddy, I'm calling you Daddy." Was this girl an actress? Judging by her clothes, she looked like a rich family's heiress. But she completely lacked the dignity you'd expect. "Get out of the car," I repeated. I didn't know her, and she clearly wasn't short of money. I had no reason to help her. What if I got accused of kidnapping? How would I even explain it? I kicked her out and drove off. In the rearview mirror, I saw her still standing there, dazed. A few minutes later, I sighed, made a U-turn, and drove back. When she saw me, she threw her arms around me in excitement, then quickly let go, realizing it wasn't appropriate. On the way back, she talked non-stop. How could my dad think like this? How can he treat my marriage like it's a game? It's my marriage, not his. If he wants a family alliance, he should marry himself off. Why use me as a bargaining chip? Could I not run away? If I didn't, I'd really be stuck with some random dog of a man I've never even met. Tang is rotten to the core. He froze my cards when he found out I ran away. Isn't that basically taking my life? After all these years, that's still his go-to move. From now on, he's no longer my dad. You're my dad now. My real dad. Daddy, Daddy. I stayed silent, my patience wearing thin. Can you just shut up? One more word and I'll kick you out of the car. She nodded vigorously, mimed zipping her lips, then smiled at me. It seemed I'd picked up a real handful. After bringing Jessica home, I told her to clean herself up. She came out wrapped in a towel, sitting cross-legged on the sofa, watching JoJo and munching on sunflower seeds, right in front of a stranger. "Why aren't you dressed?" I quickly turned away and tossed her a long coat. "Huh. My clothes are dirty, and I don't have any spares. I always wear a robe at home after a bath." She blinked at me. Rich girls really had no common sense. She was nothing like Laura. Jessica was genuinely clueless. Only an idiot would walk around in a bathrobe at home. Laura was never like that. Laura knew exactly how strong a man's desires could be, especially after being played for nearly 5 years. She would deliberately wear a robe, sip red wine gracefully in front of me, dance to classical music, then pour the unfinished wine on me and step on my pants. "My feet are sore from dancing. Rub them for me." She looked down at me like I was her toy, laughing at me, despising me, playing with me, before dressing up and going out with other men. And I would be left behind, cleaning the mess she made of the house. I really used to be pathetic. "Don't wear a bathrobe in front of me," I warned Jessica. She heard the anger in my voice. She walked over, stood on her tiptoes, and smoothed my frown. "You're mad." "I'm sorry." I froze. That simple gesture calmed me down. Yeah. I'm not Laura's pet anymore. Jessica isn't Laura. If I truly want to escape Laura's shadow, why should I be taking it out on Jessica? I sighed, took the long coat from her hands, and draped it over her shoulders. "I'm fine. I'll take you shopping for clothes tomorrow." "Really? Oh yeah. You're the best dad ever." "It's just a loan. You'll have to pay me back." Stingy, Julian. Drama queen, Jessica. We both laughed. The next day, I took Jessica out for lunch. Then we went shopping. We had just entered the mall, hadn't even bought anything yet, when I ran into Laura. She was holding hands with a man walking beside her. His style was similar to mine, and even his face bore a faint resemblance. He was speaking animatedly, while Laura remained silent, her expression indifferent. To be honest, the man didn't seem bad. Laura had gone through countless men. Whether with me or others, she always maintained a superior, manipulative stance. To her, men were tools meant to please her. For her to be holding hands with someone, communicating as equals, even dating, no one else had ever managed that. Laura noticed me and immediately let go of the man's hand. She walked over, surprise filling her eyes. But when she saw Jessica, disappointment instantly flashed across her face. "What a coincidence," Laura said, forcing a bitter smile. She pointed at the man beside her. He's just a friend. Don't misunderstand." "Misunderstand? Misunderstand what?" She was shopping, holding hands with a man. Whether he was a friend or a lover had nothing to do with me. What was there to misunderstand? Jessica sensed the awkward atmosphere. She gave a sly smile, wrapped her arms around mine, and teased, "You said yesterday you'd only ever love me. Now you're staring at another woman? Am I not good enough for you? Is it because my chest isn't as big as hers, or my body not as soft? Julian, you're such a jerk." Laura and I both stared at her in shock. "Are you seeing someone?" Laura asked me. "Yeah, I'm his girlfriend." "Who are you?" Jessica answered before I could. "I'm his fiancée," Laura said without hesitation. Fiancée. She actually dared to say that. Back when she called off the wedding, that wasn't how she'd put it. "You're his fiancée? Are you joking, lady?" Jessica covered her mouth and chuckled mischievously. "What kind of fiancé goes shopping holding hands with another guy? Anyone who didn't know better would think you were having an affair. Oh, excuse my bluntness. I hope you won't hold it against me." "You?" Laura's face turned green. Ignoring Jessica, Laura looked at me and continued, "Julian, I've wanted to ask since the last time we met. These past 3 years, you haven't contacted me once. You even blocked me. I never had a chance to talk to you. How have you been these years?" Who would have thought that after 3 years of silence, even Laura had learned how to speak like a normal person? "Did the sun rise from the west today?" "I'm doing well, Ms. Koo." "No need to worry," I replied. I pulled Jessica, intending to leave, but Laura grabbed the corner of my coat. Ms. Koo, I need to take her shopping for clothes. Could you let go?" I tugged at my coat, but it didn't move. She was gripping it tightly. "Miss Koo," I urged again. She stayed silent. My patience snapped. "Laura, enough already." To my surprise, she spoke quietly. "Don't go." She lowered her head so I couldn't see her face. A few drops of water splashed onto the dry floor. Tears. "No way." I gave a self-mocking smile. I must be crazy to think Laura was crying over me. "Julian, don't go. I'm begging you." Her voice was muffled and hoarse, nothing like before. The man beside her stared at me for a few seconds, then looked at Laura. He sighed, took off the jacket that matched mine, removed the same necklace I was wearing, and walked away with his hands in his pockets. Jessica, tired of waiting, decided to fully commit to the act. She took off my coat and tossed it at Laura. "I know my boyfriend is charming, but you can't just put on a pity act in front of his real girlfriend. You say you don't want him to leave. Where were you before?" I was just..." Laura bit her lip, as if the words were stuck in her throat. She looked up and met my gaze, and I instinctively looked away. "No need to explain." I wrapped an arm around Jessica's shoulders. "Jessica, let's go." "Oh." Jessica nodded and walked away without looking back. That was when Laura finally realized she was no longer needed by my side. And at that moment, her tears burst out like a broken dam. After taking a few steps, Jessica glanced back and said, "Hey, Julian, she's crying." Was she crying for me? Forget it. It didn't matter anymore. Back home, Jessica couldn't help complaining. "What's with you and Laura? You two had a thing. You know her. How many female powerhouses are there in the business world?" Jessica took a bite of her lollipop. "She's capable, but her personal life is a mess. Hey, Julian, don't get tangled up with her again. Nothing good will come of it." I looked down, organizing my clothes. "I won't. Never again." That night, Jessica insisted I watch horror movies with her. She didn't go to bed until midnight, but I ended up unable to sleep. When I finally drifted off, I fell into a nightmare. In the dream, I returned to the moment when the system first bonded with me. Back then, I was accomplished, graduated from a top university's best program, full of passion, determined to become an outstanding designer. But all of that was shattered because the system said, if you want to live, do as I say. Like a flawless mirror smashed into countless pieces, my dreams, dignity, and shame were torn apart. I had to become a simp to satisfy the system's twisted demands. The system constantly brainwashed me. Once you complete your mission, you'll have endless wealth. Isn't that better than working for a living? Dreams are nonsense. I silently sketched my designs, only to tear them up again, venting my frustration. Like stagnant water, no matter how violently it churned, it only created a few ripples on the surface. I resisted before. And what was the result? Car accidents, illnesses. I endured them one after another, then relived them repeatedly. I had no choice but to face reality. To hell with dreams. Survival mattered most. So I pursued Laura, exactly as the system demanded. At first, Laura wouldn't even look at me. I brought roses to confess, and she stared at me coldly, making me uneasy. She was only 3 years older than me, yet she felt worlds apart. She finally spoke. You say you like me. Why? I froze. Why? To stay alive, obviously, but I couldn't say that. Because I admire you, I improvised. She looked at me mockingly. How old are you? 22. I meant down there. She pointed lightly at my crotch. I was speechless. Who would have thought the cold, distant Laura was actually shameless? My first confession ended with me fleeing in humiliation. For my second confession, I gave her a diamond ring, just over 2,000, saved from my living expenses. I'll never forget the look of disdain in her eyes. She didn't care for it, but she took it, put it on, and said, You like me that much? Want to get a room? I want to be in a relationship with you. A relationship? She stroked the ring and chuckled. All right. That night, she took me to a hotel. The next day, she vanished. When I went to her office, security stopped me. I tried calling her, only to realize I didn't even have her number. I waited the entire day. When she finally came out, I stood up to ask her to the movies, only to see her arm in arm with another man. You said you wanted a relationship with me, I said. She smiled. Yeah. Didn't we already have one yesterday? Yesterday. A one-day relationship. Did that even count? That's not how it works, I said naively. She laughed and patted my shoulder. Kid, don't push your luck. Later, I kept bringing gifts, begging her to date me. She finally agreed to try. She still drank and socialized with different men, but she made time for me. Once, during a business deal involving design, she brought me along. I pointed out flaws in the other party's draft. They exploded, insulting me, saying if I made money selling my body, I should just stay pretty. For the first time, Laura lost her temper. She had security throw them out and swore never to work with them again. She picked up my corrected draft and said, Your ideas are good. Julian, you're very talented. How ironic. The person I had to become a simp for was acknowledging my talent. What's wrong? She asked. Nothing, I said. She smiled and kissed me. You're talented. You're not just a pretty face. And you're not selling yourself either, she added, showing me the ring I'd bought. See? Aren't we in a relationship? For a while, I almost believed staying by her side wouldn't be so bad. I thought she understood me. That she might be different. Reality crushed that illusion. One day, after I'd already moved in, I came home with groceries, chatting casually, only to see clothes scattered everywhere and Laura in her underwear with another man. She wasn't surprised. She waved me over. I swallowed my anger, set the groceries down, and demanded, Laura, what am I to you? A toy. Or what that designer said, a pretty face selling my body. She fed the man a cherry and replied casually, Whichever you prefer. Are you like this with everyone? Of course not. I agreed to date you, didn't I? She tried to kiss me. I turned away. She sneered. Julian, do you really think you matter? I defended you back then only to save face. Did you really think you were special? All your designs are worthless. Apart from satisfying me in bed, what can you do? You've always been just one of my simps. She returned to the man, even glancing at me while he put on a condom. Well, she asked, are you going to keep watching? I ran. Again. I woke up choking, gasping. Julian, wake up. Jessica was straddling me, slapping my face. What are you doing? I pushed her away. You were screaming and crying. I thought you were possessed. Did I talk in my sleep? She hesitated. I went to drink water, then noticed her skimpy clothes. How many times do I have to tell you? Dress properly in my house. She giggled and grabbed my arm. Don't be mad. When I stayed silent, she tried again. Julian. Brother he. Uppa. Daddy. I shook her off. Are you this casual with everyone? She froze. The air went still. And I immediately regretted my words. Probably because of everything that happened with Laura, I developed a psychological shadow that made me overly sensitive. I only wanted to remind Jessica to dress properly, to be cautious around men, but the words came out wrong. I sighed. Jessica, just go. She didn't say anything. She turned around and left. That made sense. She should leave without saying a word. I was already used to it. It was fine. Being alone at home wasn't so bad. I'd always been alone before, hadn't I? I placed the cup on the table and went back to bed. Just as I was about to turn off the lamp, Jessica appeared at the bedroom door. She had put on a thick, long coat over her skimpy pajamas, covering herself tightly, exactly the way I'd told her to before. Tang Jessica, I rubbed my eyes. You didn't leave. Did you forget something? She still didn't answer. Instead, she walked over, climbed onto my bed, straddled me, gently held my face, and kissed me deeply. I wanted to push her away. I should have pushed her away, but I didn't. Maybe the nightmare had messed with my head. Maybe, just like Laura once said, I really was a complete idiot. Maybe I truly was useless. I couldn't even muster the strength to push a frail girl away. She kissed me for a full 2 minutes, then placed a light kiss on my forehead. She ruffled my hair. Julian, don't be sad, okay? How did she know I was sad? Just minutes ago, I had been yelling at her. At worst, she should have thought I was angry. Why did she think I was sad? I don't know what Laura did to you or what happened between you two, she said softly. But Julian, it's all in the past now. She pressed her forehead against mine. It's all right. The nightmares will end, and you'll shine. It's okay. It's okay, she repeated gently, patting my back like she was comforting a wounded child. That night, I slept surprisingly well. The next day, I attended a gala. Unfortunately, Laura was there, and so was the senior designer who had once insulted me, saying I was just a pretty face selling my body. He recognized me immediately. Hey, the dog's back. Where's your owner? He looked down at me, clinking his glass against mine. Been to quite a few events like this with Laura, huh? And you still say you're not a pretty face. Do you really think you could attend an event like this on your own? He deliberately raised his voice, and soon people gathered around to watch. Laughter. Mocking laughter. Scorn and ridicule. I took out my invitation. Mr. Lee, please open your eyes and take a good look. Don't underestimate people. Sam snorted and rolled his eyes. Still, it's all thanks to Laura. 1 invitation per person, I said calmly. Everyone here was invited for their own capabilities. I wasn't brought in by anyone. I walked in here step by step with this invitation. I emphasized my words. Mr. Lee, I've shown you my invitation, yet you still assume I got in through connections. Such pettiness and narrow-mindedness are truly unparalleled. In some ways, I suppose that makes you unique. You. In front of so many people, especially at an event like this, Sam didn't dare retaliate. He slunk away toward the restroom. But the rumors didn't stop. People began pointing at me, whispering, Julian, maybe you should leave for now. Staying here will only make things worse, Laura said, feigning concern. All of this came from you, didn't it? I asked calmly, sipping my wine. Ms. Koo, it's too late to play the good person now, don't you think? My boss, who was standing nearby, angrily grabbed my glass. Julian, is that how you talk to Ms. Koo? Haven't you caused enough trouble? Everyone's eyes turned toward me again. I had become the target of everyone's anger. Some called me shameless for relying on connections to enter high society. Others said I was arrogant and ungrateful to the person who had brought me into the circle. But everything I had, I earned with my own hands, step by step. What did it have to do with Laura? How was I shameless? How was I arrogant? How was I ungrateful? Their filthy words drowned me. Then the host appeared, shouting, "Who's making things difficult for my guest?" An old man walked forward, leaning on a cane. Behind him was a quirky young girl. It was Jessica. Old Man Tang's stern gaze silenced everyone. Jessica peeked out from behind him and waved at me. Laura saw everything. Her face darkened as she silently drank her wine. "Mr. He is my guest," Old Man Tang said. "One I went through great trouble to bring back from overseas. And you dare insult him?" He then turned to my boss. "The founder of Watson working as your assistant, and you dare yell at him? Old Ming, do you really not want to stay in this industry anymore?" My boss froze, staring at me in disbelief. The others were just as shocked. After a long moment, my boss stammered, "Watson's founder. Watson Design. Julian." "No, Mr. He. You never mentioned this when you joined us. I would never have dared hire you. I was blind. Truly blind." Laura was just as stunned. For the first time, her eyes showed something other than contempt, an emotion she couldn't quite name. Holy crap, Julian, you're Watson's founder?" Jessica whispered. "Isn't that even more impressive than my grandfather? I guess I really hit the jackpot." I smiled at her. "Enough chatter, you talkative pest." Then I faced the crowd. "I'd like to take this opportunity to introduce myself. Tonight's gala was co-hosted by Mr. Tang and myself. Many of you may already be familiar with the brand I founded, so I'll keep it brief. I wanted him to think I wasn't dependent on him, that he should cherish me more. But it was disgusting. I hated myself for it. Kissing others was disgusting too. Julian proposed to me, and I was thrilled for a long time. I pretended to be reserved, telling him I'd give him an answer in a few days. But when I was finally ready to say yes, I saw him with another woman. Were they asking for directions? Greeting each other? Or was it a date? It was unbearable. I didn't want to say yes anymore. If I agreed now, would he stop cherishing me? At the very least, I couldn't let him think I was someone he could easily obtain just by putting in a bit of effort. Once again, I rejected him, acting flirtatious and careless. But strangely, the distance between us grew even wider this time. When I returned home, the house was empty. In the past, when we argued, he had never done this. Why did he leave without saying a word this time? I couldn't reach him. I didn't know where he had gone. It was as if he had vanished from the world, leaving me behind. What should I do? Go look for him? But there were countless matters at the company waiting to be handled. Should I just let it be? Maybe he was just throwing a tantrum. We completely lost contact. For 3 whole years. When we met again, he was already a high-level designer. In the end, he had reached that radiant stage. His brilliance would be seen by everyone. He would have more admirers and more suitors. He would be surrounded by people, his path paved with flowers. He stood in the spotlight, and I was far, far away from him. How ridiculous it was! I was both happy for his success and terrified by his talent. How could I feel such conflicting emotions? As I had expected, there was another girl by his side. Younger than me, prettier than me, and most importantly, purer than me. I envied her, so simple, so clean. As for me, I had crawled through a rotten world, tainted beyond repair. Yet I wasn't willing to let go. How could I let the love I had nurtured for so long be so easily taken away by someone else? I humbled myself and went to Julian, begging him, could we start over? He refused without a single moment of hesitation. Perhaps in his heart, there had never been any love between us in the first place. If there was no love, how could there be a chance to start over? It was all a huge joke. I watched as he slowly walked away. I stood beneath the lights. Jessica also stood beneath the lights. And Julian walked toward her without ever looking back. In the end, I was still alone.